Why cruise ship doctors quit, medical care truth exposed. In July 2025, a passenger aboard a Carnival cruise ship clutched their chest as tsunami warnings blared across the Pacific. The ship's doctor faced an impossible choice: attempt treatment with basic equipment or risk a helicopter evacuation through dangerous conditions. This life-or-death decision exemplifies why cruise ship doctors are abandoning their posts at unprecedented rates, leaving passengers vulnerable in the middle of the ocean. What cruise lines desperately hide from their passengers, especially the seniors who make up their core demographic, threatens lives daily. The medical care crisis at sea has reached a breaking point, and the doctors who once stood between passengers and disaster are walking away. The Hollywood lie that endangers lives. When ABC's Dr. Odyssey premiered in September 2024, it painted cruise ship medicine as glamorous, featuring state-of-the-art operating rooms and teams of specialists. The reality, according to Dr. Jane Baugh from Scenic Cruises, couldn't be more different. These facilities resemble basic infirmaries from decades past, not modern hospitals. The truth? Most cruise ships operate with one doctor, maybe two nurses, and equipment that would shock any passenger expecting modern medical care. No MRI machines, no CT scanners, no surgical capabilities beyond basic suturing, just a single bed for intensive care on Scenic's ships, supposedly among the better-equipped vessels. This dangerous fiction creates false expectations that kill. Passengers board believing they'll receive hospital-level care, while doctors face impossible situations with Stone Age resources. The Patient Tsunami. No doctor can survive. On a standard 3,000-passenger cruise ship, the medical center processes 50 to 100 patients daily during normal operations. But normal rarely exists at sea. When the CDC reported new norovirus strains in May 2025 causing multiple outbreaks including the Navigator of the Seas incident in July, those numbers exploded. During the Navigator outbreak, 2 doctors treated over 150 passengers in 48 hours. The math becomes terrifying. Each patient received roughly 10 minutes of care while battling severe dehydration. Doctors described working in battlefield conditions, triaging constantly while knowing any moment could bring a cardiac emergency they couldn't properly handle. The elderly, representing cruise line's primary demographic, suffer most. Their complex medical needs require time and attention impossible to provide when dozens wait outside. One former doctor revealed the haunting reality: you're playing God, deciding who might die without immediate attention versus who can wait another hour. Equipment from another era. The July 2025 Carnival evacuation during tsunami warnings exposed the terrifying truth about cruise medical equipment. A passenger experiencing cardiac symptoms required immediate surgical intervention. The ship's medical center could offer only basic monitoring and prayer until the Coast Guard helicopter arrived. What cruise ships lack? Cardiac catheterization capabilities for heart attacks, Connecticut scanners for stroke diagnosis, blood banks for emergency transfusions, dialysis machines for kidney failure, advanced life support ventilators, surgical suites for emergency procedures. Former cruise doctors report diagnosing brain hemorrhages using only physical examinations, knowing that every minute without proper imaging meant increased risk of permanent disability or death. They work with technology hospitals abandoned decades ago, making life-or-death decisions based on educated guesses. Isolation, the doctor's nightmare. The icon of the sea's tragedy in July 2025 laid bare the terrifying isolation cruise doctors endure. When a crew member allegedly stabbed a colleague before jumping overboard, the medical team handled everything alone. No trauma surgeons to call, no psychiatric support for the traumatized crew, no backup when exhaustion set in after hours of crisis management. This isolation extends beyond dramatic incidents. Every cruise doctor works as the sole medical authority for thousands, often 3 or 4 days from the nearest hospital. They make decisions that on land would involve entire medical teams, carrying the weight of potential mistakes with no safety net. One former physician's confession haunts: you lie awake knowing that if you missed something, if you made the wrong call, someone dies, and there's no one to catch your errors, no colleague to offer a second opinion. You're completely alone with the consequences. The financial disaster patients never see coming. In July 2025, Reddit exploded when a Norwegian cruise passenger posted their medical bill. $219 for walking through the door, $219 for seeing the doctor, $274 for a basic COVID test, over $700 for what would cost $100 at an urgent care clinic on land. The post went viral, but it revealed only a fraction of the financial nightmare. The hidden truth terrifies. Medicare doesn't cover cruise ship medical care, most private insurance excludes it too. Seniors, who comprise the majority of cruise passengers, face bankruptcy-level bills for basic treatment. Medical evacuations range from $50,000 to $150,000, not covered by standard insurance. Doctors find themselves trapped between cruise line profit margins and patient needs. They must explain these costs while providing care, watching patients refuse necessary treatment due to price. One physician described the ethical agony. You know they need immediate care, but they're calculating whether they can afford to live. The compensation insult. Despite holding thousands of lives in their hands, cruise ship doctors earn 30 to 50% less than land-based physicians. They work 70-hour weeks minimum during 4 to 6 month contracts with 0 days off. Unlike the luxury suites shown in Dr. Odyssey, real cruise doctors live in windowless crew quarters, sharing the same cramped conditions as entry-level staff. The financial mathematics drive qualified doctors away. Lower pay, longer hours, crushing responsibility, and isolation from professional development create an equation no rational physician accepts long-term. Those who remain often lack better options, raising terrifying questions about the quality of care passengers receive. The revelations about cruise medical care get even more disturbing. To stay informed about dangers cruise lines hide from passengers, subscribe to Cruise Safe now. Your life might depend on knowing what comes next. When outbreaks overwhelm. The CDC's May 2025 warning about new norovirus strains preceded multiple cruise ship outbreaks, transforming medical centers into war zones. Norovirus causes over 90% of cruise gastrointestinal illnesses, spreading through ships like wildfire. During outbreaks, doctors work around the clock collecting samples, administering IV fluids, and filing reports while more passengers fall ill hourly. The Navigator of the Seas. July 2025 outbreak showcased the impossible mathematics. 2 doctors, 3 nurses, 150 severely ill passengers in 48 hours. Staff described running out of IV bags, rationing anti-nausea medication, and making decisions about who received treatment based on severity rather than need. These outbreaks reveal why doctors quit. They're asked to manage public health crises with resources barely adequate for routine care. The physical exhaustion combines with the knowledge that despite their best efforts, the outbreak will spread, passengers will suffer, and they'll bear the blame. The mental health breaking point. The psychological toll destroys even the strongest physicians. Constant life-or-death decisions with inadequate resources. Isolation from medical colleagues, witnessing preventable deaths due to equipment limitations, processing traumatic events like the icon of the seas stabbing alone. The pressure never stops during months at sea. Former cruise doctors report anxiety, depression, and PTSD symptoms that persist years after leaving ship medicine. One physician revealed, "You develop a constant state of dread, waiting for the next emergency you can't handle properly. The stress hormones never stop flowing." Studies prove physician burnout directly correlates with medical errors. Exhausted, isolated doctors make mistakes. When those mistakes happen at sea with no backup, passengers die. The ethical nightmare. Cruise lines create impossible ethical dilemmas for their doctors. Pressure to avoid costly medical evacuations conflicts with patient needs. Corporate policies prioritize profit over optimal care. Doctors must practice below accepted standards while maintaining their medical licenses and personal integrity. The 2015 AIDA Cruises scandal, where a fake doctor practiced for months, exposed another ethical crisis. Legitimate doctors work alongside potentially unqualified colleagues due to inadequate background checks, sharing liability for substandard care they didn't provide. One former physician's revelation chills. "They asked me to clear a passenger with chest pain to continue cruising. No cardiac enzymes, no EKG monitoring, just my word that he wouldn't die. When I refused, they found another doctor who would." What seniors must know. For passengers over 55, these revelations carry life-threatening implications. Higher rates of chronic conditions, greater need for specialized care, increased risk of medical emergencies, all combined with a medical system in collapse. The harsh reality: stroke treatment requires immediate intervention unavailable at sea. Heart attacks need cardiac specialists ships don't have. Diabetic emergencies require resources often depleted during voyages. Falls resulting in fractures may exceed ships' surgical capabilities. Has cruise medical care failed you or someone you love? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience could save another passenger from disaster. The cruise lines don't want these stories told, but together, passengers can expose the truth. Survival strategies for the informed cruiser. Given this medical care crisis, passengers must become their own advocates. Pre-cruise preparation. Research specific ship medical facilities and staffing. Purchase comprehensive travel medical insurance including evacuation. Bring 14 days extra medication beyond cruise length. Document all medical conditions and current treatments. Choose itineraries near quality medical facilities. Onboard vigilance. Locate medical center immediately upon boarding. Report symptoms early before escalation. Understand real evacuation costs and procedures. Know nearest ports with acceptable hospitals. Maintain communication with shoreside physicians. The crisis deepens. As more doctors abandon cruise medicine, quality spirals downward. Ships struggle to recruit qualified physicians, potentially lowering standards to fill positions. The doctors who remain often lack better options, raising terrifying questions about competence and dedication. Recent incidents prove the system's failure. The July 2025 tsunami evacuation, the icon of the seas tragedy, multiple norovirus outbreaks. Each event exposes medicine practiced with third-world resources on first-world prices. The future passengers face. Cruise lines face a choice: invest in proper medical facilities and physician compensation, or continue risking passenger lives with inadequate care. Current trends suggest they've chosen profits over safety, leaving passengers to bear the consequences. The doctors aren't abandoning ship because they're weak. They're fleeing an impossible situation where they cannot provide the care their oath demands. Every departure leaves passengers more vulnerable, especially seniors who trust cruise lines with their lives. The medical care crisis at sea worsens daily. Qualified doctors refuse to practice substandard medicine under impossible conditions. Cruise lines hide this reality behind marketing glamour while passengers board ships, essentially gambling they won't need serious medical care. For some, it's a bet they'll lose catastrophically. This investigation into cruise medicine's collapse represents just one danger cruise lines hide. Subscribe to Cruise Safe for continued revelations that could save your life. Next week, the cruise ship safety equipment that doesn't work the way you think. Share this video with every cruiser you know. In medical emergencies at sea, knowledge becomes the difference between survival and tragedy. The doctors have spoken by walking away. The question remains, will passengers listen before it's too late?